Shikha, you know,
Yeah, sorry, I think I was on mute. So today we'll be discussing about like parallel execution, guys. So let us consider a scenario. We have 10 test cases and 10 test cases should be executed in parallel. Okay. So here, why do we execute this in parallel? To save our time. Okay. For example, you have like hundreds of test cases. Hundreds of test cases, like you can execute them in parallel if they are not dependent on each other. Okay. If they are not dependent on each other, and it's kind of like you need just your times to be same. In that case, what we do is like we are going to go ahead with the parallel execution. Okay. So how do we achieve this parallel execution? Is like we can achieve in different ways. Okay. So parallel execution can be done at class level, at test level. Okay. So basically, we don't appreciate to have this in class level, and we'll be doing it mainly in terms of like test. Okay. So in terms of methods also, but we'll be discussing mostly on the test. Okay. So I'll tell you how do we do it, because when we configure it the method level, we have to use like before method, after method. In case of classes, we can use the same thing, but we have to configure everything as part of like test. So now how do we add this? Like how do we exactly execute this? Okay. So now you see we have a small diagram here. What happens in this case is like this will be considered as kind of like a threads. Okay. So threads. So if you want to execute something, okay, something as part of like something as part of like execution in the different browsers, right? So there what we do is like we are going to use the thread count. Okay. So this is the property that we are going to set up. So if I use thread count 1, then what it does is like it will execute one thread at a time. Okay. For example, you have a Chrome browser here. It will be executing in Chrome. But it is like Firefox, it will be executing in Firefox. Okay. So if we have Edge browser, so this it will be executed in Edge browser. So now you see that what it does is like when we keep the thread count as is equals to 1, then what it does is like it will execute one thread at a time. Okay. So one thread at a time. That's nothing but it's kind of like a sequential execution. It's going to happen. Okay. So I'll show you how do we configure this as part of like sequential execution, and as well as like how do we achieve through using the parallel execution. Okay. So but parallel execution can be done in this ways, like methods, classes, and test. Okay. So you'll see three of them. So for this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a class in TestNG. So here I'm going to write it as like parallel execution. First, we'll try to do it in methods, public void test. Okay. We have to import test. So here I'll take some details. Okay. So as we said, we have a base class here. So I'm going to take these things. Driver. So just to see that, okay. So here we are going to set static driver. B is equals to, I'm just initializing this Chrome driver. Then after I'll be using setting up some dimensions so that we can, when we get to see this one, okay. So this dimensions are like kind of like when we want to, for example, if I give maximize, so it will occupy whole screen. Okay, just that I want to just show you like how do we exactly achieve parallel execution. I'm just setting this dimensions. Okay, so dimensions is like it will start it like it will open the browser in this particular dimensions. Okay, 800 to 500 like height and width. Okay, so for this, what we do is like we are going to use a dimension class. Okay, so dimension dim is equals to new dimension of height and width of that window. So d dot manage dot set size is like I'm going to set the size here. So this is the size I want to set. Okay, so this is for the Chrome browser. So after this, what we are going to do is like we are going to use d dot get URL. What is that URL? So I want to test it on this particular site. Okay, so so it's this one. C V. After that, I'll be finding out the element my dot path, and we know that we have this input at that name is the name send text admin. So three. What is that we have? See, name is equals to username, and here we have a password. Password is equals to name is equals to password, and we need to click on the submit button. Okay, so this is like a button, and its name is submit login. Others you can give something that it's like button. Any other property that we have type submit. Okay, so we'll take button type submit. Find element by dot path, and here we are going to give button and the type is equals to submit. Dot use the submit here. Okay, so this is like one test I want to execute in Chrome. The second test I want to execute in Firefox, and I want to execute this one in Edge. Okay, Firefox. For this, what I have to do? I have to use Firefox driver. And here I have to use Firefox driver. Edge driver. So here I want to use Edge driver. First, let's execute this and see what is that it's going to do. Okay. So after this, I'll just wait for some seconds and then I'll sleep. Like I'll put it like sleep for 3 seconds. Then I'll just close the driver. Driver dot quit. Going to through the exception. Okay, so now let's go and execute this. Unless test engine. Okay, so we did not start this parallel execution yet. I am just showing that how do we can execute this test cases in parallel. Okay, to save our time. So just we want to test it in different browsers. So we see that it's opening the URL. You'll enter username, password, and click on submit button and close. First, it open the Chrome browser. input. Oh, sorry. I'll tell you what is the problem. Okay, so we did not give this one, right? So otherwise we can remove. Okay, so we can give CSS select. Anything would work. Instead of always finding it through XPath, we are trying to say we are going to use CSS selector. Okay, so it is also similar, right? So only thing is like we did not use that slashes. Okay, click on submit, it will close it. Okay, so likewise it will execute. Now it is executing in Firefox. You can see the browser is like, yeah, Edge is open. So C, E, F, you can see that, right? So we did not give the priority, it is executing. It's taking in this chronological order. Okay, ASCII value. So after C, it comes E. After E, it comes F. Now it will open Firefox. Now you see that all three are executed. Pass, you can see Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. Okay. So now I want to execute them in a parallel. So how do we execute them? So for this, what we have to do is like we have to create XML file. Okay. I'm going to convert this one to this XML file testng XMLs parallel.html. Now you can see a file will be created here. Parallel.html. Okay, XML. So now only thing is like I'll be adding a tag called a property called parallel is equals to methods. Okay, I'm putting parallel is equals to method. So what is that we have? We have a test here, and you can see that we have a suite, we have a test, and we have classes. Within the classes, we have methods. But here, what I'm trying to do is like I want to execute methods parallelly. Okay. So first thing is like as we discussed, we are going to execute methods parallelly. Okay. Here you can see methods parallel. So this one that we want to achieve. Now wait, let's see how do we execute it. Right. When you right click on this, now you can see it will open three browsers at a time. Okay. I mean like just a few seconds gap. See. Now you see that we have a Chrome browser, Edge browser, and we have Firefox also open. Okay. So that is the reason why I put the dimension sizings, okay, so that it could execute them in this way. Now you can see all the three browsers are there. It is trying to execute the scripts. Okay, but it says like two failures here. Don't worry about what is the failure and all. Now it is trying to execute them in a like like in a single thread. Okay. I see I specified only parallel is equals to method, but the threads I did not give. Okay. So here I'm going to give thread counts is equals to okay, three threads I'm trying to. Otherwise, if I give one thread as I discussed here, so what will happen is like thread count. If I thread count set is equals to 1, see, I did not give the thread count. So what it has taken is like it has taken the default. Okay. So now you see when I just give thread count as like 1, what it does is like see, it opened Chrome browser. It will execute Chrome. Okay, we'll close it. Now it will open the Edge browser. Okay. So it's like it's taking one thread at a time. Now it is trying to execute. Okay. But here we are not achieving any kind of parallel execution. Okay. Parallel execution is like we want to execute all the test cases that we have in different browsers or in the single browser itself. Okay. Same like in Chrome browser itself. We are trying to achieve like parallel execution in cross browser testing. Okay. Different browsers. Now you see all three cases are passed. Now my condition is like I want to execute in two browsers at a time. Okay. So two browsers at a time. Now I'm trying to execute. I'm just changing the thread count is equals to 2. Now you see one is open in Chrome, another one is open in Edge browser. Now it is like it's open in Firefox also. Okay, so 2 at a time, but the thread count we have given 2, right? So it is the reason why it is open in 2 browsers at a time. But this is like thread count I did not specify. Like it is taking in a like it's coming after that. But it is trying to achieve like we have three browsers which are open here. Okay, but the other thing is like you might have observed that it's not working properly. So to achieve that, I'll tell you what we do. Now you see that. Now you see that all three browsers are opening at a time. Okay, I'll just see. Edge, Firefox, and Chrome. Okay, so 3 are open, but you see that it's not working as expected. So for that, what we can do is like we can use a concept called thread local. Okay, so thread local. Thread local, what it does is like now you see that all it is trying. Okay, so one thread, 3 browsers. In that case, what it is happening is like it is not working as expected. Okay, one thread and 3 browsers. So in this case, it's not working. So what we can do is like we can use a thread local concept which will help you to create a separate threads for the 3 different browsers. Okay, so it's very simple. Just we need to use like thread local. Okay, it's a class from the lang package. We have to give the drivers, okay, on which you want to perform this particular, like when which you want to create the threads. Okay, just here I'm specifying it as like a thread local and the browser. Okay, driver. So here you can see that I have created like static web driver. So this is not required now. Okay, so we can comment it out and we can just use the thread driver dot. This is a static one that I can use. So here what I need to do is like we can use driver dot set, and where do you want to execute this one? So you want to execute in Chrome driver. New Chrome driver. Okay. So driver is nothing but now you can see what it is doing is like it is opening the thread local. So let's go to the thread local and see why it is used. See, each thread holds an implicit reference to copy of a thread local variable as long as the thread is alive. Okay. So what it exactly says is like, see, here also parameters, the type of thread locals value. So on which particular object or which particular thing that you want to create a thread. Okay. So here we are trying to create a thread on the web driver, because if you try to execute all of them in a in a single thread, what it is doing is like it is trying to execute all of them at once, but it's like all the comments are not properly executed. Okay. To avoid this set of things, what it is doing is like we are going to create like what I'm trying to do is like I'm going to create a thread local. Okay. So here what is the comments that we have to is like thread.set, thread.get. Okay. So get is like particular comments that you want to get from the thread. Okay. Dot manage. So everything is similar. Only thing is like we have to use thread.get and thread.set. Okay. Thread.set is like on which driver you want to set this particular thread local. So here also I'm using driver.get, driver dot. Now get is like driver.get itself. Okay. So get.get. Find element is also driver.get, driver.get. Okay. Everything is similar. Because get is nothing but what kind of methods that we have inside this WebDriver that we are getting it. Setting is nothing but on which driver you want to set that will be setting it here. Okay. So I'm going to copy this code, paste it here also. Paste it here also. I'll just change the drivers. So here it should be Firefox driver. Here it is like X driver. Here I'm going to put the X driver. Okay. Now you see the difference when I execute this one. All three will be executed without any errors. Okay. So because of the thread local that I thread local is like it will create a separate thread and it will stay alive until that particular execution is completed. See all the three I've got open, right? I'm just going to put them aside. Now you see. So Chrome is working fine. Edge is working fine. You see the dashboard, right? So this one is also working fine. Now you see we don't have any issues in running them. Like that, it executed Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. Okay. So this is how we'll be achieving at the method level. Okay. Methods is like for every method that we are trying to open a separate browser. Okay. So now we try to execute them is like now we have tried with methods. Now we'll try to execute them in a different classes. Okay. So different classes is like what I'm going to do is like I'll create separate classes now. Okay. Saving it to class parallel execution test ng1. Into execution 3. So I'm good just putting this 3 now. So I'll take out this. Oh, sorry. I've just created 3 different XMLs, right? I'll just try to delete this 2 and I'll put 1. Let's go here. And what is that we try to achieve is like parallel execution, right? Parallel execution class. This has come. So I'm just trying to drag and drop this. Okay. So I'm just creating a copy of this classes. Parallel execution. Class parallel execution 1. I'm just putting all this different, like, test in different classes. Okay. Here, what I did is like one class, 3 methods. Here, one class will have 1 method. Okay. So I'll just close these things. Close everything. Now I'm just going to create this. Okay. Class 2. And here, class 3. Okay. Let me close all of them and I'll open one class at a time and I'll just make the changes. Okay. So now you see we have one test here. I'm just going to delete this. So this is not required. This will be in a second class. So here I'll just delete this first and the last one. And here I'm going to observe carefully. So here we have like Chrome. Here we have like a Firefox and here we have like a test. Okay. So Edge is the test. Now I'm going to open this. Whatever we have created class. So here instead of methods, I'm going to put classes. Okay, classes set. So here I'm going to change this class name. Okay, so let me take this one. instead of parallel execution, I'm just putting 3 classes. 2 and this one is 3. Now you see what happens is like classes will be executed parallel. Okay, so we are not setting methods here. We are setting all classes. Okay, so let me close this class, and this class, and this is the XML file. Okay, now you see what I changed here. So I changed methods to classes. Okay, so right click and go and execute this. Now all 3 browsers should be executed parallel. So now you see this. All 3 browsers open at a time. Okay, now you see this 3 got executed. See, test Edge, test to Chrome, and test to Firefox. So with from which class it is executing? See, this is the 3 classes that it got executed. Okay, 3 executed first and like 3 started first in fraction of seconds. Okay, it's not like it will not take like off sequential execution. This is kind of like a parallel execution. You see how this is executed. Okay, so to have this, like, you can specify different classes, and before class also you can just put one kind of like, we can use one base class, and within that base class we can have this all these 3 things, like, whatever we are trying to open the browser side, we can put there. But instead of doing that, I'm just showing you like how exactly we can execute them. Is like, one class with different methods, and different methods will have like different browsers. In here we have like, different classes and different different methods and different browsers. Okay, so here we have like one method within a like, one method at a time. That's why I want to just use, and in that method I want to open the Chrome browser. Okay, so now what I will do is like, I'll just create already we have a base class here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to use this base class. Okay, so we have put it like after method and before method. I'm just putting it as like a before test and after test. Okay, so base class, I'm just using this base class. Here also I've created like WebDriver thread local. So I've created this thread local. Okay, let me do one thing, guys. Otherwise, I'll just create. I'll create a XML file. In that XML file, I'm going to put. Okay, let me create like this directly. Here, I'll go here. Anyways, we have this class parallel class, right? So I'll just copy it and paste it here. Here, instead of putting it as a class, I'm going to put it as like a test parallel. Okay, test parallel execution. I'll open this test parallel execution. So here you have like the 3 classes in a single test. But now what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to have 3 tests created and 1 class in each test. Okay. Instead of creating a separate base class again, it's like it's taking time consuming process. So what I'm trying to do is like, I'll just change this one here. Okay. So far we have given as like classes. Now here I'm going to give the tests. Okay. Test parallel. What it does is like, it will execute 3 classes at a time. Now you see that in different tests. Okay. So when you see here, we have test. Under this test, we have like, classes, 3 classes executed. But now when you look into this results of running suite after executing this test, you'll see that test 1, test 2, test 3. Okay. Will be running, will be executing parallelly. Now I'll go and try to execute this. See, all 3 browsers will be opened in a similar fashion. In methods also we did, classes also we did, and we are doing it in test. Now you see that I'm just dragging it here so that you can see all the 3 browsers. Okay, so one is like Firefox, here is the Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. All 3 are loading. Okay, so 3 got started with, they started at the same time. Okay, Now do you see this? So when you go here, you see tests are executed in parallel. Okay. But now you see that we have test 1, test 3, test 2, and test 1. Test 3 has like 3 class, and test 2 has like 2 class, and test 1 has like 1 class. Okay. Within that, we have this method executed. Okay. What happens when we have like thread count only 1? It will execute 1 browser at a time. Okay. When we have two browsers at a time. And 3 is like 3 browsers at a time. Okay. So likewise, it will start executing these things. Are you clear with this test? So we have like all 3 things that I've created here. Test parallel class, and we have like class parallel, and we have like method parallel. Okay. So where is that? Yeah. So this is like, I'll just rename this one. Okay. So I'll rename the file name as like methods parallel test engine. Okay. So we have like 3 XMLs. In first XML, you can see I'm just putting a method within the class. We have only 3 methods. Okay. 3 methods with 3 different, three methods with 3 different browsers. So here we have a class, and within this class, each class has like different browsers. Okay. Different methods and different browsers. Here in this test parallel, we have like just changing the XML file. We are taking the classes itself. This class will open the Chrome browser, and this class will open Edge browser, and this class will open Firefox browser. Okay. So whatever browsers we have inside this, I'm just giving an example. Okay. So we have executed parallel using method, using classes, and using the test. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens in case if you put thread count is equals to, so here I am putting parallel is equal to test, thread count is equals to 5. Let's go and execute this one. What it is doing now? It is trying to execute the browsers here. Okay. So we have put 5 like, okay. I'm just putting it as like, 5 here. I'm trying to override the details which are given as part of like the suite level at the test level. Okay. So here I'm going to put it as like 1. Okay. Test 1. So what we got here, we got the same result. So now I'm trying to execute this. Which one is taking priority now? It is like suite level, it is taking the priority. See, it is opened in Edge, Firefox, and Chrome. Okay, all 3 will be executed. Through this, we can achieve the parallel execution. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to put this one as like 5. Now I'll try to execute this. So test given parallel test thread count is equals to 5. What is happening here in this case? It will consider only that particular test. Okay, so I meant to say that now this is not kind of like any parallel execution. Though you are giving test as like parallel. Okay, so now the condition is like if I take the classes here, okay, classes, and I'm going to put parallel condition here in the classes. Okay, now you see the difference here. So when I'm putting at the class test level, so what is happening? It is not doing anything. Okay, let me just change this one. Just to change this one because it doesn't make any sense when we are putting this. Okay. So now I'm going here and I'm putting a class at test level. Go and execute it. See, under this test, it is working, right? So under the test, if you have any classes and in that classes, you are defining any methods. Now it will consider this parallel execution when we are putting classes which are there under that test. Okay. So now you see that it's executing and it will produce the same results like you can see. Under this test, we have like thread count. This thread count is working fine. Okay. I'm going to say that, see, if we are setting at the suite level, so it is best that we have to set at the suite level. You can set at the test level also. Okay. Test level and can put the classes and methods. If we want to put something at test level, that we have to do it at the suite level. I mean like test level parallel execution. Parallel is equal to test, then you have to put it here. Okay. So that it will consider the test. Now it's like if you want to put methods here also, you can put the methods here. But in case if methods have this parallel execution, then it will execute. But if we have like only one method we have. Okay. For example, I'm going to this particular class. So this class, if I have like methods, now you see. I'll take two classes because it will open lot many browsers here. Okay. Now I'm putting methods. Altogether, it has to open 5 browsers. Okay. So now you see that I'm putting 5 browsers. Let me go to this class.xml. Now you see I'm just putting this one as like 5. See, this method has got 2 browsers. This method like 2 methods. This class has got 2 methods. Sorry. So this class has got 2 methods and this class has got 1 method. Okay. If you want to check it, you can check it. Now you see 2 methods. So I'm putting methods as like parallel. Okay. So right click and execute. 2 Chrome browsers will be opened, 2 Firefox and 1 Edge. So the browser, see how many browsers are open now. So this is nothing but parallel execution. So this is Firefox, and there's a Chrome, and there is a Edge browser. Edge browser got closed. See, all of them are working parallel. Now you can see over here, and is it Chrome 1, the Chrome and Chrome 1, Edge, Firefox, and Firefox. Okay, see how this is executed. So when we are the same thing will work at the suite level also. Okay, so it's like I just want to show you the examples. How do we execute? So let me go back to this. So still you can go and configure it in base level, okay, base class, okay. So test base class. So you just want to execute that particular test. Let me just go and do one thing. I'll go to this parallel. I'll just undo this. Just one. Because when you take the same files and try to execute it, it will execute like all the browsers will be executed if you are trying to execute this with this configuration. Okay, so test level configuration methods. I'm just putting the count is equals to 5. Okay, so if you put one count, it will open one browser at a time. Okay, 2 in the sense 2 browsers at a time. Okay, based on your configurations. Like if you have this many classes and each class has like one browser, so if you want to execute them, when you give this parallel setting, then it will execute based on the browsers. So what I'm going to do is like I'll create. We have already base class here. Okay, so we can use this base class. So this base class, now you can see before test, for every test, it's going to open one browser. Okay, so let's go and try to take this base class, and I'm going to take this class, and here you can see we have one test browser. So I'll just delete this one. I'm going to extend. Okay, let me do one thing, guys. I'll just try to put this one as is. I'll create one class. Okay, so methods parallel. So if I want to execute this method parallel, stain base class, I'll show it with one method. You can just use public void. You can just create other classes and you can use with, you can do it with classes and tests also. Okay, I'll show you like in one class, how do we, in one class, how do we execute the methods, and you can try with classes and test. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is like, I'll take this, we have these things. Okay. So I'll just take these things. Okay, what is that we have to supply? So we have to supply the parameter also. Three, this plus 2. I'm using base class now. Okay. So if you are using base class, we'll be creating one XML file. I'm just going to name this one as like base parallel dot XML. So here I'll be adding the suites. Okay. Suite name is equals to parallel testing element. Okay. So and parallel equals to methods. Okay. Methods and thread count I'm going to put as like, because we have 3 thread count equals to 3 process. So what is that we want to have like test? Inside the test we have classes. Inside that class I have created one class, right? Class name is a class in that we have created method parallels. So this class I want to take. Okay. So copy this, create dot method class name that we have taken. Okay, method is the class name. If you have like test1, test2, and test3. Okay, but here the parameter I should get it, right? So parameter I have to pass. So if I pass as like, let me pass with one parameter. Parameter name is equals to browser. So first I want to execute it in Chrome. Okay, so parallel is equals to method, and this is like test. Now what it does is like every method. So go to this particular base class. Now we have given before test. Okay, we have to change it to before method, because each method we want to get the browser. Okay, so after method. Now go and execute this. How many methods are there? 3 methods are there. Okay, 3 methods should be executed in Chrome. This is that it says tag test. Okay. Oh, name should be given. So that is the reason why it is. We'll open all three browsers at a time, okay? See browser one. I'm just putting it here. I'm just putting it here. Now see, all three are open. Chrome. Because we have set like, what is that? We have set methods. Okay, so all three methods are executing parallelly. See, now it's like methods I'm giving. Okay, so classes if you give the classes also, it's like it will be executing in different classes, but it's best practice to execute your methods are test in parallel. Okay, so what I will do is like I'll try to execute test in parallel. Okay, so now with the different browsers, so here I want to execute in Firefox. So here I want to execute in Edge. Same three methods. Okay, same three methods. Now you see what happens now. So we are putting like one for every test we want to execute. We want to execute in different browsers. Okay, so here I'm going to give test one, test two, and test three. Okay, so here I'm going to give it as like tests. One browser for each method. Okay, so if I go and execute this one, what happens in this case? It will go here and it will execute this test and it will fit the browser. If here we don't get like any other browsers here. Okay, so that is the reason why what I'm going to do is like I'll just delete this one and delete this one also. And here I'll delete this one. But here when we submit it, okay, so it will try to execute this test. But here what we have done again, we are trying to log in, we are trying to again reload that particular page. Okay, in that case, what happens is like again, it's like in one browser, it will open the Chrome, it will log into this. Okay, so that's nothing but it will take first method within that first test and it will try to execute this. Okay, after this, we want to validate something. Okay, so what I want to do is like I'll just show you now. We'll be doing it in a different browsers. Okay, so this is nothing but cross browser testing. So admin 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll click on login. If I get this dashboard, I should assume that it is working fine. Okay, so I'll have this dashboard. Control C, Control F. I'm going to just check for this. Head 6. Text is equals to. Okay, so we have one element. So what I'm going to do is like here in this test, e dot find element driver dot get dot find elements by dot xpath dot get text. Okay, so I'll be getting text of it. String dashboard this dashboard. I'm just going to use this asset dot asset equals dashboard dashboard and what is the value over there that I'm getting when I just log into this? I'm getting the dashboard. Okay, see after that what I want to do is like we got the dashboard and the person who is logging into this, I want to get it. Okay, so for this what I can do is like I can take this class. Okay, profile picture, Control F. So image, what is that? At the rate ALT is equals to, see, we will do testing like this, okay? We don't have this any, it's not a following, it's not any child, it's like a following sibling, okay? So sibling, I want to get. Okay, so who logged into this? I want to get these details. Okay, for this, what I'm going to do is like I'll just try to do this action. Remote till here. This is text path. We got text. So this is going to return. So I don't want to use any assert here. I'll just try to print it. Okay. So I'll print it somewhere. We have written this now. So this should execute. First one, it should start with Chrome or for anything like test one, test two, test three. So it has to execute in all three browsers. So first it will log into this application and we are changing it like before test and before after test. Okay, before test and after test. Sorry. So here you can see I'm just changing it. So before test, after test, what they do is like, see, before test, it will execute one browser, like only one time. Okay, this particular action will be considered only one time for this particular test, whatever test we are defining. Okay, so it will open only one browser at a time, and it will go to this method and it will try to execute all methods. After that, it will terminate the browser. Okay, after that, it will terminate the browser. Okay, so before method, it will execute for each and every method in the test. Okay, so in the test, in the sense, here we have like for this method, it will execute before and after. This method, it will execute before and after. This method, it will execute before and after. But before test, what it does, it will execute only one time for the entire class. Okay, so let's go and execute now. All three browsers should be executed at a time, and you have to get those results. Okay, so now it is opening in, one is open in Chrome, another one is open in see. All three got opened, and if we close this one also, now we get the desired output here. See what is happening here. Now when you go to this, say test one, test two, and test three. Test one, test two, and test three. Test one, test two, and test three. We'll see what is the output actually we want in the console. Okay. So it should show me that it is meeting the dashboard and it should show me who logged into the application. See, logged into application, Jairam logged into the application. See, it's showing like logged into application. We did not put any wait here, so it has closed it. Okay. So immediately it has closed it. Okay. So let's do one thing. We'll try to put some wait. Okay, so let's put some wait. Now we try to execute. It's opening three browsers at a time and it will perform the action. It will print the result. Okay, 9 test cases are executed, and this is the structure you can see, and we'll try to see what is the output that it has produced. See, Jairam logged into the application. It is not capturing here, so you can see all the 3 got executed. See, Jairam logged into the application, and it showed like John Ram. Okay, John Ram has logged into the application. It should produce all these things, but few times it's like it's very fast, so it's not capturing actually. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'll just put this weight here. So assertion, we are trying to find out like dashboard. If this is passing, then only this will execute. Okay, otherwise it will fail. Oh, sorry, I just executed from this location. I need to execute it from the XML file. Okay, not from the class. We have this parallel execution. Okay, so this one is like I need to maximize and minimize it so that we can see other steps. I see one is in Chrome, one is in Firefox, another one is like in Edge. Okay. Something is like it's like you can see that it is closing the connection, but it will definitely show you like who has logged into the application. Okay. So it's not capturing that. So it's not waiting for that element. That is different issue. We can handle it with WebDriver waits and all. But now you see that how it is executing now. So here you can see all the 3 browsers it is executing. Okay. All the 3 browsers with the 3 different tests. Okay. 3 different tests. The 3 browsers are executing this 3 different tests. Okay, so this is like one browser it is opening and it is completing all the tests of that particular class and it is closing that browser. It is opening another browser. So this is nothing but cross-browser testing along with the parallel execution. Okay, so how do we configure? This is how we'll be configuring. So if you want to execute the test, you have to put the test here. If you want to execute the methods, you can execute them. See, if I put the methods here, what happened is like for every method, like all 3 methods will be started at a time. Okay, but that's not a good practice because each method does not have any browsers. We are putting one browser for each test. So it will come here and it will try to execute the test in that particular methods. But that method is like no, if that method does not have any browser, then it will throw the exceptions. Okay, so if you want to see that, I will show you. Okay, so this is not a good configuration. Okay, it is a configuration issue. Now you see what happens. See what is happening here. We try to execute them. See what is it? It says like null pointer exception because the return value of that whatever we are getting is like null. Okay, this is not a good practice. So if we put this one methods here, and if you try to go and configure the base class as like method before method, now you see what happened. Together 9 browsers will be open. It's like too clumsy to see this. 3 Chromes, 3 Firefox. Here we are putting only count is equals to 3, right? I'll just try to put it 9. It's all based on our configuration. Okay, so how do we want to configure it? We'll go and execute this. This desktop will be loaded with browsers now. Okay, so I got it. What is that issue actually? We put 3 here because we have 3 test cases. And put 3 here. Let me just change the configuration. One more configuration. See, now it is like trying to open 3 Mozilla. Put this. Come here. And I'm going to put 9, and I'll change the configuration as like. So within the test, we have parallel methods also. See now. You can see there's like, it's opening all. How many browsers it has opened now? See all 6. Now it will open. See all 3. Here you can see it is like grouped here. We got like 9 browsers, right? It is still executing those browsers here. We will close it with some exceptions here. Okay, so it is failing here. Now you can see few browsers are failing here. And still yet to close it. Okay, all tests are completed. So test 1, test 2, here test again, test 2, it's like failing because no such element, and it says like no such element, but it is executing. How did we configure now? So here suite level I want to execute test. Okay, in test I want to execute methods parallel. Okay, so that is the reason why now it is like it is trying to open all 9 browsers, because see, we as we discussed, like for every method it's going to open 1 browser. Okay, so before method we have added, so that is the reason why within this class it will go and execute, it will go and open 3 browsers because we have 3 methods. Okay, so first it will come here to the base class and it will see what is that we have a before method. Okay, how many methods we have? 3 methods, 3 browsers, 3 Chrome browsers first, 3 Chrome browsers. I mean, like parallel it will do, but in a fraction of seconds you can see it will open 3 Edge, 3 Chrome, and 3 Firefox browsers. Okay, so this is like kind of a complex thing, so we should not do these things. Okay, so we should not do this. I just want to show you as an example. So what we can do is like we can just set this one as kind of like a parallel test. If you want to execute test parallelly, you can execute test parallelly. If you want to execute methods parallelly, you can execute method parallelly, but not as both. Okay, so here I'm putting it as like, now you see I'm putting 9 here. I will go here and I'll try to change this one as like a test. Before test, what it does, it will execute, it will open only 1 browser at a time. Okay, now you see that it is like a feasible way of executing our test cases in different browsers. All 3 browsers will be open at a time. Okay, so this is like Edge, and this is like Firefox, and this is like a Chrome. We have to do the configuration neatly, then only we can get the desired outputs. Now we want that output is like it should execute all 3 test cases without any error. So all of them are passing. Now you can see all 3 tests are passing and executing in sequence. Okay, so but it's like we can wait for that element. We are not waiting for that element. That is the reason why sometimes it is like, it's not waiting for that element and not loading. So it's not pulling out. But the others you can see that we got it right. So it's like completing all the three tests. So it is capturing, like genre is getting captured. So we have to just check how this element should be identified in different browsers. Okay, we have executed test case in different browsers and different tests and different methods also. Okay, so I showed you like how do we do it as part of like different XML file within the single XML file and base files also. Okay, and I have taken the base class and configured it. Okay, so this is all about like parallel testing, guys. So I request you to just go through this video again and try to configure it. Okay, so I showed you like how do we exactly execute this test cases in different ways like methods, classes, and test. So if we don't have like if we create only one thread, it will execute one thread. And in case like if we have given multiple threads, what it does is like it will try to execute those three browsers in a single thread. Okay, to avoid this, we have to use the thread local. Okay, so go here and you can see that like I'll just open this particular class here. So you can see what we have to do is like we have to create a thread local web driver. And this driver we have to set. What is that? What is that I'm setting is like I want to set Chrome driver, like this should be executed in a separate thread. Okay, so thread local, as you see that it's going to keep on, it will open that particular session. See, each thread holds an implicit reference of its copy. So what it exactly does is like this class thread local variable. So this class provides thread local variables. This variables differs from their normal counterparts in that each thread that access one. That's nothing but via its code, like whatever you are writing is like as its own one thread at a time. Okay, independently initialize copy of that variable. So it's kind of like a, so this is like separate copy. Okay, so this is like separate copy that we are going to get. So this driver, whatever we want to use, it will be executing parallelly. Okay, so in that case, if you want to execute parallel execution, and if you see that all, if when you try normally, parallel is equal to test, and in that test you have like three browsers. If they are not working, then we have to go and use this thread local. Okay, generally they don't work because the thing is like one thread will, in that case, one browser will take the priority and it will execute, but rest of the browsers, the execution will not work as our requirement. So in that case, we have to go with this thread local. Okay, it's a class which will create a separate kind of variables. So this is a separate variable and that is separate variable, and like whatever we have, like different classes will have different variables. So in this case, if you go and try to execute with the help of like class parallel, so what it does is like it will open these three browsers at a time. In that case, if you don't use thread local, so it will take one of the browser will take the priority and it will execute all the test cases, but rest of the browsers will remain like they'll be waiting for their term. But what happens is like already we have executed our test cases. Then we see that we don't get any desired results. To avoid this, what we have to do is like we have to go with the thread local. Okay, so thread local, only the simple code that we have to write is like thread local, and what is the type of thread local is like web driver. So driver.set and driver.get. After this get, you can see all the methods which are part of this web driver will be available. Okay, set and get. So if you have any other methods that you want to see, driver dot you get set, and you can see all the methods which are related to the object. Okay, so object what we have. Generally, we have two methods that we use. Get is like it's like WebDriver get. After that, it's going to return the thread. Here is the value in the current thread copy of this thread local. If the variable has no value for the current thread, it is first initialized of that value returned by the initializer. So it's like simply you can see that the return type is like the current thread's value of this thread local. Okay, so this will return in the WebDriver. So it is like the WebDriver object. So WebDriver object details will be returned back. So set is like again it is kind of like a void. It doesn't return anything. If you want to set anything, you can set. Okay, so here see what it is setting is like WebDriver value only. Okay, it's going to take only WebDriver value. So from where it is coming? It is coming from the java.lang package. Okay, it is part of java.lang. So do you have any kind of like do we need to do only for this particular WebDriver? So whichever thing that you put, it will be taken. Okay, so it will take like this. So if you want to put weight here, Now it's kind of like weight will take the priority, like weight, whatever you want to set, we can set. Weight for weight dot. So get dot weight properties. All weight properties will be seen here. See, wait until that particular condition is expected conditions. You can write this expected conditions. Dot. So it's all up to us. Okay. It's not only for the WebDriver, you can create this thread local for the classes, whichever classes we have. So here I'm just trying to create it for the WebDriver because I want to handle this as like a separate thing. Okay. So guys, with this we have finished parallel execution with 3 ways. Okay. So one is like from methods, one is from the classes, another is from the test. Okay. So I thought like today I can continue with the data provider. I'll just give the heads up with data provider. Why do we use this data provider? And what is the use of like, and how do we achieve this data driven testing using the data provider? Okay. So what is data provider? Data provider is an annotation. Okay. So let me go to the documentation. I'll show you like how does this data provider looks. Take the data provider. It is showing it's like testengine.org. The documentation. I'll just search with this data provider. See, data provider marks a method as like supply. So for example, if you want to supply some data, okay, so data to that particular test. So then we are going to use this data provider. Okay. So data provider, what it does is like it will supply the data in the form of like we have a single object, we have multiple objects also. Okay, object arrays. Okay, so we can supply in the form of like rows and columns. Okay, so now we can see marks a method as a supplying data for a test method. Okay, so if you are putting data provider and in the data provider you are putting some data and that data to be passed as part of like a test, then we have to use this data provider. Okay, so the annotated method must return the object, two-dimensional array. You can see the two-dimensional array object it's going to return. Okay, one is like rows and columns. Okay, where each object can assign the parameter list of the test. So what happens is like if you see here we have like two-dimensional array. In that array, if you are putting one row and multiple columns, what it does is like it will do one iteration. And 2 rows, multiple columns, it will do the 2 iterations. Okay, so it will automatically iterate that particular test. You need not to put anything like like opening the browser, closing all these things we not to set. So only thing is like data provider, what it does is like it will store the data in the form of rows and columns. Okay, rows and columns. Now you see this. Okay, 2 rows and 4 columns. Here you can see 2 rows and 4 columns. So if you are storing some data here, okay, so if let us say that I am going to store admin username, password, and after that I want to validate that dashboard, and after that I want to validate the user, logged in user. Okay, so this is like one kind of data. Okay, so second is like admin 1 2 3 dashboard. So one is like a valid set, another one is like invalid set. Okay, so logged in user. So one is like valid. So this test case, what it should is like it should say it is passing, it should say it is failing. Okay, so if you want to see that multiple iterations that you want to execute that test case and you want to see what is the behavior of that particular test case on the application. Okay, so what it does is like it will store the data in the form of like two-dimensional array. Okay, generally we are going to use two-dimensional array. Still we have like single value that we can pass and single array that we can pass. Okay, so all these things that we can discuss tomorrow. Okay, so but what is the thing that we have to do here in cases like we have to use the data provider annotation. So that annotation is kind of like it's going to create a separate test. Okay, so it's like I'll just show you a simple example here. data provider example. So how do we create the data provider? Just give the data provider annotation. So in this, you have to give the public void. So I'm just using void here, data provider. In this data provider, you need to add it like you can add the name also. So name you want to give it as like test. So we need to define the data provider as like we have to give the name so that we have like this particular data provider will help you to test for the this scenario. Okay, login. I'm just giving login. So here, how do we create this now? Is like we can create object data is equals to new object. I want 2 rows and 2 columns. So here I'm going to give data 0 0 is equals to some admin data first row first column admin 1 2 3. So data second row first column admin, and similarly second row second column. So here I'm going to put this. Now we have created the data provider. How do we supply this data now? So it has to return something, right? So here we are, what we said is like we want to return object array. So here we have to give the object array. What do you return in this case? So it will return the data. Okay, we are returning the data. So we want to, let's see, what I've created is like I've just created the object array. In this object array, I'm just storing the values. So how this will be stored here when we look into this rows and columns? So it will be stored in this fashion, right? So this is what we have stored. First row, first column. First row, second column. This is like second row, first column. Second row, second column. Okay. This is nothing but you can see 0. This is 0 0, and this is like 0 1, and this is like 1 0, and this is like 1 1. Okay. We have this values defined, but index in case of arrays, index starts from 0. If you take 1, the index will be like 0 1. If you take if you take 2, sorry, the index would be like 0 1. Here we see it will be like 0 1 index. Okay. Now we got the data. Just we'll go with a simple example now today, and tomorrow we'll be discussing in detail. So test, and here I'm going to use public void test login. Here in this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to pass data provider. Okay, let me just take this one. We have to import that package, test package. I can see when I say data provider is equals to, it's going to ask me for the name. Okay. So now we have to pass how many parameters that we have here. We have like you can see it is 2-dimensional. Okay. So how many values that we have to give here is like we have to give 2 values in it. Okay. Username. Another one is like password. Okay. This is first column, first row, first column, first row, second column. This is like second row, second column, and this is like second row, first column, and second row, second column. Okay. So first it will take this value, okay, as username, and it will take this value as like password. Okay, for the first iteration, and second iteration it will take this value, and second like as well as like it will take first row 2 columns, okay, and second row 2 columns. Now I'll take the example of this parallel execution. So here I'll just take it and I'm going to paste it here. So instead of using this WebDrive directly, we can use a WebDriver now. Okay, we are not executing it parallelly. WebDriver D static. What is that we are passing? See, send case. I'm not using this now. I'm not hard coding any value. Now I'm going to take it from this parameters. Okay. Let's wait for 5 seconds, then we'll get it. Okay. Now you see, now from where we are getting data? We are getting data from the data provider. Okay. So login, username, and password. So runtime, it's like, dynamically it will take the data. Whatever data I'm supplying from here, it will take the data. Okay. Right click and run as. See, I'm not doing any kind of like, thread counts here. Just it will sequentially execute and number of iterations will be increased. First iteration is like, it will take like, whatever, how many number of, dimensions that we have put. So those many number of dimensions, it will execute. Like iterations will be based on like number of rows that we are putting. See, first time it is executed and second time it is executing now. Just putting the username and password and clicking on submit. Okay. So after that, it will close it. Wait for 5 seconds and it will close it. Okay. Now you see that when you go here, you'll see what is the data we have supplied here. Admin 123, admin 1. Okay. In some scenarios, what we want to do is like we want to check the invalid combinations also. Okay. Invalid combinations. In that case, we need to increase this. Okay. So for example, now you see 3 rows I am putting now. Putting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 here. 3 here. So this is like invalid combination and this is also invalid combination. Okay. So second row, first column, second row, third row. Okay. So this is like first row, second row, third row. First row, first column, first row, second column. Second row, first column, second row, second column. Third row, first column, third row, second column. Okay, it has to execute 3 times. So after this, if you see something here, okay. So if I'm just writing some condition here, if you find something in this case like invalid combination, admin 1, 2, something. So it is showing this invalid credentials. Okay, I'm just going to capture this, and this, if I find this one, then it is like invalid combination. Okay, we are getting this. So here I'm going to write find element by dot xpath dot is displayed. If it is displayed, then I'm going to say that login failed. It's going to return true, right? If it is available, it's going to return true. So login successful. So right click and run it now. It will open. First time it is like login success because username and password are valid. It is not displayed, so it will wait for some time, 30 seconds, it will say that login success. We are given the implicit wait, right? So it will wait for that element and it's going to return you that particular. Yeah, okay. So first one, login success should be there. See, this is failing, like it is showing the fail, but let's see that. Okay, it's waiting for that element. The other thing has already started, but it's waiting for that element. So this will also fail. Login fail. Because that is displayed. So it will close this immediately. It's waiting for 5 seconds and it will close. Now this test case is like, see, 2 passed, 1 failed. Okay, fail in the sense no such element exception, it is throwing But the thing is like, because we have given the explicit weight. Okay, so sorry, implicit weight, that we have given the implicit weight. Because it is returning invalid credential, this is not available. It says like it is not available. Okay, but the thing is like this is passing and this is for passing because we have this condition set. So it will say that this one is because it returns true. It returns true. So that is the reason why it will show that this is failed condition. So we want to get the false condition also. So it will say that login success. So this is failed. And it's showing that no such element exception. So instead of this, I'll just change these conditions, okay? So, but what it is returning? It is returning me a no such element exception. Okay? So, but is displayed is different. But here it is like it is waiting for these credentials. So it's trying to find these credentials. It's not displayed over there. So that is the reason why it was throwing the exception. Let me handle this in this way. Like I'll just take this one. I'll like get okay, we don't have this one, right? So we don't find element. Let me have this. So we'll be returning. So we'll write a simple logic here. It's going little complex now. I just want to show you how exactly this data, like data provider will work. Okay. So don't worry about this logic and all. So let me just do one thing. So if I remove this explicit weight, I still get that no such element exception because we are trying to find that element, right? So if I see this one, okay, if I see this dashboard, then my login is success. Six control F, H6, text is equals to dashboard. It is also similar case. Now you can see that if you put invalid credentials, if we are trying to find that object which is available, so in that case, we are getting this one. Okay. So to avoid this, what we can do is like simple thing is like we can use, I'll use another way of handling these things. So not to get any exceptions, right? So what I'm going to do is like I'll just use list of web elements. So because it will return if that element is not available, it will return me the size. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is like I'll write a simple thing. So instead of writing all these things, I'm just using this one. Okay. Port list of web elements. So here what I'm going to do is like is size dot size. I'm going to take is not equals to 0. And element dot get is displayed. Okay. So this is a condition that I'm using. First I'm seeing that its size not equals to 0 and the element is displayed. Then you say that login failed. Okay. So I'll just change this one. Login failed. Here login success. Now you see the different behavior. We don't get any set of no such element exception. Okay. We'll go and check for that size. If size is not equals to 0 and that element credential, okay, invalid credential is displayed, it will say that login failed. Otherwise, it will show the login success. Okay, just to handle that exception. Otherwise, you can use try catch also. Go and handle that exception and you print that. If it is like element is not available, then you can say that login success. We are using that implicit wait, right? So that is the reason why it is waiting for that element. See what it says, login success, because that element is not available. Okay, it closed it. Now it will show the login failed because that is invalid credential. We are observing that it is like displayed there. So it will say that login failed, it will immediately close that. Okay. It will not wait for 30 seconds. Now you see the login failed for the second one also. But are we using any set of conditions here? We are not using. Only data provider will take care of it. Okay, because number of rows it will see, and number of, based on that number of rows it will do the iterations. Now you see that. So all three test cases are passed. It will say that login failed for 2 cases, login success, because first one we are providing valid credentials and we don't see this invalid credentials. Okay, so the text, and it is like what I am trying to do is like, now I don't want to get the no such element exception. So I'm using this list of web elements, t.find elements. What it does is like, it will return 0 if that element is not available. So I'm checking the condition here. Okay, element.size is not equals to 0. Then if this is true, then it will go and search for this. Okay, it will go and like, and condition. We are using and operator. We start in the start we have discussed about it, right? Double and single and. Double and is like, if the first condition is true, then it will go and check for the second condition. If first condition is false, then it will never go to the second condition. Okay, so that is the reason why it will be faster. Okay, single and also we can use, but it will check for both the conditions. That is not required here. Okay, so this is how we'll be using this data provider. This is not only way. I'll show you like other way. How do we exactly create this data provider and how do we supply them? Okay, how do we create a number of data providers and create them as like, maintain them as like a separate class? That also I'll show. Okay, everything that as part of like data provider I'll show you. How do we execute this one as like parallel and partial also I'll show you. How do we read the data partial, like, only you want to read this this particular thing, not this one. You want to skip this one. You want to skip this one. Okay, how do we skip that? I'll show you. Okay guys, thanks for your time. Let's meet tomorrow. The thing is like, please practice guys, this is very important. Now we are getting into the little tougher side of it. Okay, so how do we organize a test and all? So that is little tougher now. So parallel execution also most probably like, most asked questions in the interviews. And data provider, data driven testing, how do we do it? So these all things are like, mostly asked in interviews. Okay, so thanks for your time guys. Please let me know if you have any doubts.